Dr. Mike Stewart. Dr. Stewart is the Executive Director of Missions of the Great Commission Association of Southern Baptist Churches, GCA, made up of 117 diverse churches and ministries. Since arriving in 1997, GCA has supported over 60 new church plants, including African American, Anglo, Chinese, Filipino, Korean, Spanish, and Vietnamese congregations. GCA also provides food for the hungry, leadership training for pastors, and operates preschool and elementary schools throughout the region. He also led racial reconciliation projects, inviting white and black churches to worship together on Sunday evenings, sharing pulpits, musicians, and a fellowship meal together. Dr. Stewart currently volunteers on the Board of Informed Choices, a nonprofit that provides life-affirming support to women in all stages of pregnancy. Let's give a warm round of applause for Pastor Mike Stewart.
I want to set a few ground rules for today. First, my assignment is our purpose together. First, let's agree that we're not going to solve the problems of the Democratic, Republican, or other political party today in this room. That's not our assignment. Let's agree to be gracious people who have the courage to hear different perspectives and a heart that desires to help shape a fairer community that values all people equally. Now, our speakers may approach these issues in a way that make our person feel a little tension. Let's agree that we can handle that. We're not asking you to agree with every speaker, but I pray that you can learn from every speaker. And finally, let's understand that we are not expecting you or ourselves to solve all these issues today. We'll give you 48 hours. So go easy on yourself and on us, but we do want to start the understanding of issues we may know nothing really about. I am not an expert on racial injustice. I am a pastor who's been in the white evangelical church for all my life, and this is not a sermon we preach, because our constituents and congregation do not feel it, and they do not understand it, and they talk to us afterwards about how that didn't feed me. In the intro video that I showed, that was a promo to go to the MLK 50 conference this past spring, celebrating the death and assassination of Martin Luther King there at the Lorraine Motel. And Southern Baptist put that on, and 4,000 people turned out. And one of the speakers said that Dr. King, during his day, in the time of those videos, was despised by white America. His approval rating among whites, now he was a hero, and rightfully so, among the black community, because he was paying the price to lead and pay the ultimate price. But Dr. King's approval rating across white America during that time in the United States, and though he sells Pepsi today on commercials, during that time, his approval rating was just below that of Nikita Khrushchev, the premier of the Soviet Union. Which means Dr. King's message of equality and dignity as a black Christian pastor was seen as a bigger threat than a communist dictator who is placing missiles in Cuba aimed at America's children. Prejudice. Throughout our history as a nation, prejudice and racism have been accommodated, tolerated, and sometimes, and many times, embraced. Prejudice, the act of defining the qualities and abilities of a person simply because of their race, is a sin. And it is a sin that every human heart, black and white and brown, is capable of committing on a regular basis. Sin unfortunately has always been an equal opportunity employer. Racism is the cultural and legal constructs that are built by those in power to reinforce their prejudice. And racial injustice is the certain outcome of racism and leads to large-scale sin and the great condemnation of God on those who have constructed these types of systems. To address racial injustice, you have to understand it more than just a personal or relational issue. In the book Divided by Faith, Evangelical Religion and the Problem of Race in America by Dr. Christian Smith and Michael Emerson, their research showed the more biblically conservative a white evangelical person was, the more likely it would be that they would see racism as a personal issue. So for them, the solution would be is don't use the N-word and don't be overtly rude to people of color. That would be their solution for racial injustice. If you ask them how will it solve, we'll all be nicer. Their same research showed the more biblically conservative a black evangelical was, the more likely it was they were going to see the issue of racism and racial injustice as a systemic issue, that it could not be solved solely by people being polite. So when those two biblically faithful communities come into a room such as this, they start at the issue at far different points and they grow frustrated with one another. Let me ask you this question. Does being gracious and loving to every person that God puts in our path and be willing to address systemic injustice, are those mutually exclusive? To lead in this issue, we will have to do both. I want to explain to you an example of systemic injustice, a recent example that happened to American black farmers in the 20th century. In 1999, the United States government, through the USDA, was found guilty in a large class action suit of discriminating systemically against American black farmers. Congress, between 1983 and 1997, had passed a series of farm bills that all contained the ability for farmers to get emergency loans due to when their crops failed from natural disaster, drought, other things that could not be controlled. All American farmers were able to get access to these funds. The law itself was colorblind. However, those who processed the applications were not. Applications of corporations and white farmers were always quickly approved. The applications of American black farmers were continually lost and delayed and would habitually be approved as soon as planting season was over. The USDA got the best of both worlds. We approved the application. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to plant this year and you're going to be out of business. Only 1% of all the money allocated to this ever made it to an American black farmer. And his normal average loan, which was far less than everyone else, was $4,000. As a result of this systemic injustice, American black farmers lost their land and white farmers did not. Sometimes the white farmers buying the black farmers' land that was on sale with the loan money they had received from U.S. taxpayers, of which many of them are African American. While settlements such as these, and there was a large settlement, over $1 billion, while those provide some relief, they always come after the community has suffered incredible loss. American black-owned farms during this time frame from 1983 to 1997 declined by 98%, while this systemic discrimination was active. Being polite would not stop this kind of systemic racism. My prayer is that the rest of the evangelical church might understand these issues at a deeper level and begin a healthy biblical journey in standing up for just concerns as Christians who care about their community and want to glorify God in that effort. The struggle for a just society in America has been going on for a long time, primarily through the leadership of people like Dr. King and other black pastors and churches primarily. America is indebted to them for their courage and patience to keep going when apparently nobody else was interested in listening. And I am very late to the party myself, but I did get in the doors today. Amen. I want to close my time with a recent story. This occurred in 2018. I want to read an email that was sent by a neighbor to the rest of his neighbor. This neighborhood had a group email that they all could keep each other in the know. And this neighborhood had been suffering from someone taking the mail out of the mailbox, and other little petty things were happening in the neighborhood. And there was great, concern on the email chain of, what's happening and what's going on. In the midst of that, one of the neighbors wrote this email. I want to read it to you. The neighbor writes, "To those who've been here a short time and to any long-time folks, my wife and I have lived here in this neighborhood since 1977. That's over 40 years. Since I've been stopped 5 times, with the most recent being today, with someone from our neighborhood asking me my name and why I was in the neighborhood, I thought I would reintroduce myself. I am capital B-L-A-C-K. And as is my wife. And I'm retired from the fire department, and my wife from the county dispatch. Just an FYI, if you see us driving in the neighborhood or walking around, I care about our neighborhood also. It's nice to be nice and not assume someone doesn't belong here just because." Now, most of the responses to this email were pretty supportive, some neighbors expressing shock that had happened to them, and some were like the following. And this came from a white neighbor. "I'd like to say, I don't believe there were any bad intentions on either end, and we are all neighbors and friends who may need each other in the future the way things are going. Can't we just chalk this up to an unintended occurrence of events and let it go and learn from it?" What is not acknowledged in the response is no one else in the neighborhood had been stopped. Is it an unintended occurrence of events when 5 different white neighbors stopped the same black neighbor to ask, "Why are you here?" and he's been there longer than anyone else in the neighborhood? Is that an unintended, or is it a cultural defense that we have been taught that when things start getting sketchy, we don't like the strong black man walking around without him getting our permission? This response shows little reflection, and it does not desire to answer the question, are we acting in a way that is racist? How do you think he feels about his neighbors today? This didn't happen. This email didn't come from Birmingham. It happened in my neighborhood this last spring in the Bay Area in California. Now, this man has been in my home several times. He's a wonderful neighbor. He is a beautiful man. But racism and racial injustice are real even if you don't experience them. And they're real for this man and for all of us. Let's agree when we leave here today that we're going to be better prepared to respond biblically and courageously to this critical issue that has damaged the lives of so many people. God bless you, and thank you for the time.